It's time to finish Revival Trance, the red, white, black Final Fantasy Commander deck, which had um, two possible commanders. The first or suggested one is Terra, Herald of Hope, and then the second one was Celis, Rune Knight. So let's get back into it. Key to the City. It's an artifact for 2. Tap, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. Whenever this artifact becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Solomon Similar Come. It's a 2/2 artifact creature, a golem for 4. Whenever this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When this creature dies, you may draw a card. So, fetching a land thins your deck and gives you more land to play bigger spells without, so you're potentially playing your normal land drop and an additional land for turn, which, ramp's always nice, and then card draw from this guy dying, which it's always nice to have card draw. So we're starting some of the lands. Battlefield Forge, one of the few lands that doesn't enter, well, dual lands that doesn't enter tapped. You can tap to add a colorless, or you can tap to add a mountain or an plains. This land deals 1 damage to you. So, the damage is the reason that it's not entering tapped. One of those trade-off things. You can use it the turn it enters, but it deals damage, so given life's a resource. Cliff Top Retreat. This land enters tapped unless you control a mountain or plains, so enters tapped situationally. If you have a basic land, doesn't enter tapped. Tap to add a mountain or plains. Desolate Mind. You can pay 1 and tap this to add a plains and a swamp. Dragon Skull Summit. This land enters tapped unless you control a swamp or mountain. Tap to add a swamp or a mountain. Exotic Orchard. Tap to add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. Field Heath. Tap to add a colorless, and then you can also do either a swamp or a plains and tap to add 2 plains, or a plains and a swamp, or 2 plains. So you're basically paying 1 mana of those colors to get 2 mana of either both swamp, both plains, or 1 of each. 4 Bonding Ruins. As this land enters, you may reveal a swamp or mountain card from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped. So again, enters tapped situationally. Tap to add a swamp or a mountain. Fury, Calm, Snarl. As this land enters, you may reveal a mountain or a plains card from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped. Tap to add a mountain or a plains. Graven Karam or Karens. Tap to add a colorless, or you can tap a swamp or a mountain and this to add 2 swamps, or a swamp and a mountain, or 2 mountains. High Market. Tap to add a colorless, or tap, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life. I mean, I'm not big on sacrificing creatures or anything in general, but if you end up having a bunch of tokens and you're low on life, you know, it's a small price to pay to sacrifice a creature to gain some life. Isolated Chapel. This land enters tapped unless you control a plains or a swamp. Tap to add a plains or a swamp. Rugged Prairie. Tap to add a colorless. You can pay a mountain or a plains, tap, add 2 mountains, or a mountain and a plains, or 2 plains. Shadowblood Ridge. You can pay 1 mana and tap this to add a swamp and a mountain. Smodurage Marsh. It's a land, swamp, mountain, so where it has swamp and mountain in there. Anything that says search for a swamp or search for a mountain, or I'm guessing maybe a basic where it has that in the text. I don't really remember the ruling on that though. The reminder text in the parentheses says tap to add a swamp or mountain. This land enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Shine Shadow Snarl. As this land enters, you may reveal a plains or swamp card from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped. Tap to add a plains or a swamp. Sulphurous Springs. Tap to add a colorless, or tap to add a swamp or mountain. This land deals 1 damage to you. Sunscorched Divide. Pay 1 and tap, add a mountain and a plains. So it's kind of interesting how they are all over the board with the different kinds of lands, and not just playing each of the 3 color combinations together and then going to another set of lands and doing this, that set of 3. But there must be some rhyme or reason why they do that in Commander decks. Kind of clump 1 or 2 and then go to different lands, and 1 or 2. And Phoenix Down, which I kind of remember from playing Final Fantasy as, it was their revive, if you will. It's an artifact for a plains. You can pay 1 in a plains, tap, exile this artifact. Choose 1. Return target creature card with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Or exile target skeleton, spirit, or zombie. So that's kind of cool. You potentially reviving, if you will, a creature mana value 4 or less, or exiling, a creature of one of those 3 types. Laughing Mad. It's an instant for 2 in a mound. As additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards. Has a flashback cost of 3 in a mound. 3 minor text says you may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost and any additional costs. Then exile it. Angel of the Ruins. It's a 5/7 artifact creature, an angel for 5 and 2 planes. Has flying. Well, it's an angel. I don't know. I can't think of any angels off the top of my head that don't have flying. When this creature enters, exile up to 2 artifacts and or enchantments. And then it has plane cycling too. The reminder text is you would pay 2, discard this card, search your library for planes, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Palace Jailer. It's a 2/2 creature, a human soldier for 2 and 2 planes. When this creature enters, you become the monarch. When this creature enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until an opponent becomes a monarch. Morbid Opportunist. It's a 1/3 creature, a human rogue for 2 in a swamp. Whenever 1 or more creatures die, draw a card. Then this ability triggers only once each turn. Night's Whisper. It's a sorcery for 1 in a swamp. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Pitiless Plunder. It's a 1/4 creature, a human pirate for 3 in a swamp. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. The reminder's text says it's an artifact that was tap, sacrifice this token to add 1 mana of any color. Stitch Together. It's a sorcery for 2 swamps. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Threshold. Return that card from your graveyard to the battlefield instead if 7 or more cards are in your graveyard. Stitcher's Supplier. It's a 1/1 creature, a zombie for a swamp. When this creature enters or dies, mill 3 cards. The reminder text is put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Anger. It's a 2/2 creature, an incarnation for 3 in a mound. It has haste. As long as this card is in your graveyard and you control a mound, creatures you control have haste. I mean, kind of cool that, it's a 2/2 with haste, so you're potentially swinging the turn it comes into play, and if it goes to graveyard and you still have a mound on the battlefield, any creatures you play end up having haste. So, yeah, I mean, one of the few cards you don't mind swinging for the parks right off and potentially sacrifice it. Big Score. It's an instant for 3 in a mound. As additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. The reminder text says there are artifacts that with tap, sacrifice this token, add 1 mana of any color. Crackling Doom. It's an instant for a mountain, a plains, and a swamp. Crackling Doom deals 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. So, in addition to doing 2 damage to your opponent, you're also making them sacrifice their biggest creature. Mortify, which this is a different art from the one I'm used to seeing on Arena, but I mean, where it's in the Final Fantasy deck, I'd expect it to be a different art than whatever set I got my Mortify in on Arena. It's an instant for 1, a plains and a swamp. Destroy target creature or enchantment. So great, that has some versatility. It's not just creatures, it's creature or enchantment. And there are some heavy enchantment decks, so it's, you can switch it up. Arcane Signet, kind of a staple in every commander deck. It's an artifact for 2, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Commander Spear. It's an artifact for 3, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice this artifact. Draw a card. Meteor Golem. It's a 3/3 artifact creature, a golem for 7. When this creature enters, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls. So 7 seems like a lot, but it's a 3/3 body that also works as removal for any permanent that's not a land. So that's pretty open to whatever you need it to be. Milliken. It's a 0/1 artifact creature, a construct for 2. Tap, mill a card, add a colorless mana. The reminder text is to mill a card, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. Mindstone. It's an artifact for 2, tap to add a colorless mana, or you can pay 1, tap, sacrifice this artifact to draw a card. Soul Ring, which it almost looks like an avocado or a glowing gem. It's, a staple in any commander deck, and the artwork's a little bit cooler than most Soul Rings I see. It's an artifact for 1, tap to add 2 colorless mana. Swiftfoot Boots. It's an artifact equipment for 2. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Equip cost is 1. And the reminder text is pay 1, attached to target creature you control. Equip only as a sorcery. Talisman of Conviction. It's an artifact for 2, tap to add a colorless, or tap to add a mountain or a plains. This artifact deals 1 damage to you. Talisman of Indulgence. It's an artifact for 2, tap to add a colorless, or you can tap to add a swamp or a mountain. This artifact deals 1 damage to you. Wayfire's Bubble. Or Bauble. So again, like, they had 2 of the talismans, didn't do the 3rd one here. Wayfire's Bauble is an artifact for 1. You can pay 2, tap, sacrifice this artifact. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on to the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Ash Barrens. Tap to add a colorless basic land cycling 1. The reminder text says pay 1, discard this card, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Demolition Field. Tap to add a colorless or pay 2, tap, sacrifice this land. Destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. That land's controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. You may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Evolving Wilds. Tap to sacrifice this land. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So, where this isn't a landfall deck, I'm really kind of on the fence about this card, because you could have just put the land you wanted in its place, but instead you're playing a land to sacrifice it to get the particular land you need. Like, I've heard people say, it's for color fixing, so if you draw this and you have maybe 2 out of the 3 colors, and where this is a 3-color deck, then you can get your 3rd. Or if for whatever reason you just have a lopsided amount of 1 color, and you maybe need a 2nd of another color. And I've also heard, it thins your deck because you're basically playing 1 card to search for a card. But yeah, really on the fence about just doing it for those reasons, because you could, like I said, you could just put the land you need and have an open slot for something better potentially. Geothermal Bog. It's a land swamp mound. The reminder text says tap to add a swamp or a mound. This land enters tapped. Nomad Outpost. This land enters tapped. Tap to add a mound, a swamp, a mound, a plains, or a swamp. Passive Ancestry. This land enters tapped. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When this mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. The reminder text says, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom. And it says, may put it on the bottom. It's just kind of implied that, if you're not putting it on the bottom, you would put it on the top. Rogue's Passage. Tap to add colorless, or you can pay 4, tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Sacred Peaks. So land, mountain, plains. The reminder text says tap to add a mountain or a plains. This land enters tapped. Sunlit Marsh. The land, plain swamp. The reminder text says tap to add a plains or a swamp. This land enters tapped. Commander Tower. Another staple of commander decks. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And then we're to the basic lands. So we have 4 planes, and the 4 planes have 3 different arts. We have 3 swamps and 3 different arts. We have 3 mountains with 3 different artworks, and then we're to the tokens and the insert card at the back that tells you what to do on your turn. And on the reverse side, it's, the popular formats. So hopefully you found some value in the Revival Trance Final Fantasy deck. This is part 2, so go back and watch the first part and see the rest of this deck. And I actually had a sample pack, so let's see if you get anything good. A couple of times I've gotten cards from the deck. So we have Summon Magus Sisters, which is one of the enchantment creature saga fairies. It's interesting how they're combining the sagas with creatures now. Cost 4 and forest. Choose one at random. And then the first stage is combat powers. Put 3 1/1 counters on target creature. Stage 2 is defiance. Put a shield counter on target creature. And then stage 3, the rest of defiance is you gain 3 life. So stage 3 is fight. This creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. So that's kind of interesting that it's a creature saga that the last ability is having this creature fight something your opponent controls. Then we have Cyan Vengeful Samurai. It's a 3/3 legendary creature, a human samurai, for 6 in the plains. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. Has double strike. Whenever 1 or more creature card leaves your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on Cyan. So, a 3/3 with double strike is pretty nice. Yes, it costs 7, unless you have creatures in your graveyard, then it's cheaper. And when creatures leave the graveyard, it gets pumped up with 1/1 counters. So if you have something that brings stuff back from your graveyard and you don't mind sacrificing your creatures to send them to the graveyard to bring them back, this guy's gonna get pretty nasty pretty quick. Doesn't have any protection on him, so you'd have to maybe have a spell to protect him, because with his potential to get real big real quick, he's probably going to be targeted for removal pretty quickly. But yeah, hopefully you found some value in this, and keep checking back for some more Magic related videos. Thanks, and have a good day.